Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Sunday Feast. Today, Sunday Feast lecture. We'll start with a small bhajan, which is Jai Radha Madhava, and then we will continue with the discussion after that. Prabhu, can you project? Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana, Jaya Vrajajana Ranjana, Jaya Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha, Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana, Jana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Jaya Radha, Madan Mohan Radha, Madan Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radha, Jaya Lakshmi Narsimha Narahari, Lakshmi Narsimha Narahari, Jaya Lakshmi Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Gaura Hari, Nitai Gauranga, Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, Gaura Hari, Gaura Gaura, Gaura Hari, Jai Sachinandana, Gaura Hari, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, So we'll start with the Mangalacharan prayers. If you can project it on the screen. So we can all recite it together. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshuru-militam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam. Prabhu, please move the Vamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Sunday Feast class. So today I was thinking of discussing about a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 5, verse number 33. Of course, this was, it's Srimad Bhagavatam, but of course, it's a very famous verse. I'm sure many of you would have heard this verse before. So this verse, the Acharyas comment that it's actually on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, this is just to set you the context. This is in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is, and the conversation begins, the 11th canto begins with the conversation between Narada Muni and Vasudeva. So Vasudeva, of course, it begins with, the Yadu dynasty getting cursed. And so Vasudeva becomes very anxious, in the sense he becomes very troubled that the Yadu dynasty is going to disappear and Krishna is also going to wind up his pastimes and go back to the spiritual realm. So Vasudeva becomes very troubled by that, and then so he approaches Narada Muni to seek instructions. And then Narada Muni actually, to pacify him and enlighten him, he actually relates the conversation between King Nimi and the Navayogendras. So this is the section that, so this is some of the verses that's spoken by Karbhajana Muni, one of the Navayogendras, who are actually the sons of Lord Rishabdev. So in this particular set of verses, in this chapter especially, the Navayogendras are talking about the different, how the Lord manifests in the different yugas, and how, they are worshipped, and what are the names, forms, qualities that are worshipped in the different yugas. So this particular verse talks about, so every, this verse of course ends with Vande Mahapurushate Charanaramindam. So it's talking about Mahapurush or Purushottama, the Supreme Lord. But the Acharyas explain that this particular verse talks about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it glorifies Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. And how this verse glorifies, we will take a look at the verse. So in fact, the next verse, of course, we just passed the Gaura Purnima. It was a fantastic festival. On that too, on a Sunday, we were able to, spend most of our time, by good fortune, by glorifying Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the association of devotees. And especially we had Vaisheshika Prabhu also with us. So we had such a good fortune of glorifying Mahaprabhu. So I think, I don't know why I chose this verse, but still, I think I've not gotten over it. I'm still stuck in the past, glorifying Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, the next festival is already, coming. It's April. And what is the festival? Ram Navami. But I have not moved from Gaura Purnima yet. In fact, interestingly, the next verse, which also ends with the same line, Vande Mahapurushate Charanaramindam. In fact, it's a very interesting verse also. The next verse, the commentary is very interesting, because I'm not going to, go through, this verse in detail, but this verse talks, the Acharyas, anyway, I'll read the verse, translation, and then I'll just give a brief, brief overview of the verse. So, O Mahapurusha, I worship your lotus feet, that is, Vande Mahapurushate Charanaravindam. You gave up your association of the goddess of fortune and all her opulence, which is most difficult to renounce and is hankered after even by great demigods. Being the most faithful follower of path of religion, you thus left for the forest in obedience to a Brahmana's curse. I mean, Vaisheshika Prabhu has referred to this verse many times. Out of sheer mercifulness, you chased after fallen conditioned souls who are always in pursuit of the false enjoyment of illusion and at the same time engaged in searching out your own desired object, Lord Shyamasundara. So interestingly, this verse, of course, you can see it talks about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? And the thing that's really striking is, out of your sheer mercifulness, you chased after the fallen conditioned souls. Of course, that's very special to Sriman Mahaprabhu, even among all the incarnations, which we'll talk about, how Sriman Mahaprabhu, of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, but he has a very special mood. He is actually running after the conditioned souls to give them the perfect knowledge, the highest perfection, which is love of Godhead. Interestingly, the Acharyas actually comment that this verse actually talks about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It also talks about Lord Krishna. It also talks about Lord Rama. And all the three, and basically they give different meaning. It's the same verse, but they give different meaning of how this verse talks about all the three personalities. And so this whole chapter is actually talking about, the Lord in different yugas and Yuga Avatar. And particularly these two verses, glorify Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So let's get back to the original verse. I'll come back to this verse in a bit. So how does this verse glorify Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? I'll recite the Sanskrit and then you can repeat after me line by line, and then we'll go over the different Sanskrit terms. Deyam sada paribhavagnam abhishtadoham tirtas padam shivavurinshi nutam sharanyam Brityartiham pranatapala bhavapti pottam Vande Mahapurushate Charanaravindam. So I'll read the translation. My dear Lord, you are the Mahapurusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I worship your lotus feet, which are the only eternal object of meditation. Those feet destroy the embarrassing conditions of material life and freely award the greatest desire of the soul, the attainment of pure love of Godhead. My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the shelter of all holy places, of all saintly authorities in the line of devotional service, and are honored by powerful demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. My Lord, you are so kind that you willingly protect all those who simply bow down to you with respect, and thus you mercifully relieve all the distress of your servants. In conclusion, my Lord, your lotus feet are actually the suitable boat for crossing over the ocean of birth and death. And therefore, even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva seek shelter at your lotus feet. So, if you look at the verse, we can just, see the Sanskrit. So it says Deyam Sada. Deyam Sada means, of course, eternal object of meditation. Deyam means to meditate. Sada means always. To meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord. Of course, Vande Charanaravindam. On what? On the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And then Paribhavagnam. Paribhavagnam means destroying the insults of material life. Because we are, just being bound by this material body, it's actually an insult to the soul. And our original constitutional position is, we are actually eternally the servant of Krishna, and we are engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. But unfortunately now we are bound up in this illusory energy, and we are actually engaged in this material body, in this a lot of false identification. And what are we serving now? We actually were serving the Supreme Lord, and now what are we serving? We are actually serving our mind and senses. So it is an insult from where we were and what we have become. It's actually embarrassing. And but when we take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his lotus feet, then what happens? Paribhavagnam, which means it destroys the insults of a material life, which means that Mahaprabhu, by his mercy, he actually elevates us to our original position, which is being a servant of Krishna. And then it says Abhishtadoham. Abhishtadoham means that was the greatest desire of the soul. We all have so many desires. Of course, we will expand on each. I'll just go over the and then it says Tirtas Padam. These are the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. His Tirtas Padam. It is actually the shelter of the holy places and saintly people. And Sivavurin Chinutam, which means this is honored by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. And then it's Sharanyam. It is actually worthy of taking shelter. And then Brityartiham. It relieves the distress of devotees. And then Pranatapala. Protect those who simply bow down. Then finally Bhavapti Pottam. It's actually boat to cross the material ocean. So these are the glories that's discussed in the verse about the Lord's lotus feet. Now, can we go to the second paragraph of the purport, and then we'll read this purport, and then we'll start and have some discussion. Does anybody want to read? Yes, Arman.
The words Dhyayam Sada are always to be meditated upon, indicate that there are no hard and fast rules in this age for chanting the holy names of Krishna. In Kali Yuga, the authorized process of meditation is to chant the holy names of the Lord, especially the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This process is to be executed constantly and always, Shada. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Smarane Nakala in Kali Yuga. The Supreme Lord has kindly invested all of his potencies in his holy name, and there are no hard and fast rules for chanting such names. The mention of such rules refers to Kala Desha Niyama, or regulations of time and place. Normally, there are strict regulations governing the time, season, place, conditions, etc., under which one may execute a particular Vedic ceremony or chant a particular mantra. However, one should chant the holy name of Krishna everywhere and at all times, 24 hours a day. Thus, there is no meaning of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's statement. Thus, there is no restriction in terms of time and place. This is the meaning of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's statement.
All right. So, Deyam Sada, it is basically, of course, these are the purports by Srila Prabhupada's disciples. So, the Lord's lotus feet is actually glorified many places, throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, throughout Chaitanya Charitamrita and so on and so forth. Like, for example, there is a beautiful verse the gopis sing in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Pranata Dehinam Papa Karshanad. And then, so basically they are glorifying the Lord's lotus feet. And your lotus feet destroy the past sins of all embodied souls who surrender unto them. And it's glorified at many other places also. Of course, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Sikshashtakam, Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitamam Vishame Bhavambudau Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sasadoli Sadarsham Vichintaya. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is praying in the mood of a devotee that, one should, O Krishna, I am an eternal servitor, but somehow or other I have fallen to this ocean of death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as an atom at your lotus feet. So the Lord's lotus feet is glorified at many, many places. And we also know that the Nagapatnis, who are actually the wife of Kaliya, they are glorifying the good fortune of Kaliya. Of course, Kaliya gets smashed. From his own perspective, he's, as Krishna is dancing on Kaliya, what happens? Do you know what happens? Krishna is dancing on Kaliya. What happens to Kaliya? Yes, Arman. Yeah, all the poison and the blood is coming out of his mouth. So, it's purification actually. And of course, hopefully, our purification will be a little more, gentle. I mean, if we voluntarily take to Krishna consciousness, then we are actually accepting purification voluntarily. Then Krishna doesn't have to drag us in that way or dance on our head in that way. Because for Kaliya was actually filled with so much of ego and envy and anger, so much of negativity. He had, of course, Kaliya had come, taken shelter of Yamuna because he was protected. Garuda was not able to come there, so he was there actually, and he was poisoning everything, as he was going around Yamuna. And how did Krishna treat him? Krishna treated him. Of course, Krishna did not kill him, but Krishna treated him by dancing on him. And dancing, it was so crushing. It was so crushing for his ego and his all the bad qualities that he had, envy and so on and so forth, that he was actually vomiting the poison and blood. But of course, Krishna, but then what the Nagapatnis do, because from a Kaliya's perspective, that was very hard. But then Nagapatnis are glorifying. They are saying, we do not know how the serpent Kaliya has attained this great opportunity of being touched by the dust of your lotus feet. So they are glorifying the Lord's lotus feet. What good fortune that Kaliya have to be touched by your lotus feet. And so there are many places like this. And then there is also the verse, very famous verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Shram Shruttaye Epadava Pallava Plavam Mahat Padam Punya Yasho Murare Bhavam Vodir Vatsa Padam Param Padam 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 Yat Vipadam Natesham. So the Bhagavatam verse says, how for those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, the enemy of Mora demon, the ocean of material world is like ocean contained in calf's hoof print. So for the devotee who has taken shelter of the Lord, the material energy of the material world is considered to be a huge ocean. And you may be very good at swimming, but if you are dropped into the middle of an ocean, how long can you swim? Right? Even if you're an expert swimmer, at some point you cannot cross an ocean because you're an expert swimmer. So, but for the devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord, the whole ocean becomes, the amount of water that's held in a calf's hoof print. So like this, the Lord's lotus feet is glorified everywhere. And similarly, and it's fit to be meditated on. And even from Chaitanya Charitamrita, we know how actually the Lord bestowed His mercy, on Rupa Goswami and Sanatan. Of course, there are many incidents, but one incident that I can recollect is how Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, they were actually, in the previous roles, they were actually the officers. What were the previous names? Sakar Malik and Nabirgas. Yeah. So they were actually working for the emperor, or the not emperor. They were working for the Nawab Hussain, and so they approached Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? And then they met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the middle of the night at Ramakeli. And then they basically approached Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with all humility. The prayers are so touching. If you read that section of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, even though they were considered to be in a high post as far as the government officers are concerned, but they felt themselves very, very unqualified. In fact, they felt themselves more unqualified than Jagai and Madai. And the reasoning they gave to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, Jagai and Madai were only afflicted by the sins, but we are actually offenders because we were serving, such people who are actually going against the cows and the Vedic tradition, which is cows and the Brahmanas. So they felt themselves very, very unqualified. And then when they approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then they gave all these, they were offering these they were talking about their own disqualification, and then they were also glorifying the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as how he is the Patita Pavan. He has particularly come to deliver the fallen souls, and there can, how they are so fallen. And then how did Mahaprabhu respond to that? Anybody knows? Mahaprabhu responded by saying that, your humility is actually breaking my heart. He said, you are my eternal associates, And so, your humility is breaking my heart. Mahaprabhu says, do not worry. Very soon, Lord Krishna will deliver you. And you'll be able to, you'll be placed, in eternal service of Lord Shri Krishna. So Mahaprabhu gave them that instruction. And this, but he said, your humility is breaking my heart. And so there's a beautiful verse in the Madhya Leela which says, Eta bali dunhara shere dharila dui hate dui bhai prabhupada nila nija mhate. So the Lord then placed his two hands on the heads of both of them, which is, of course, Mahaprabhu then says, from now you will be called as Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. And in return, they immediately placed the lotus feet of the Lord on their heads. So Lord initially actually placed, his two hands on their heads. But then, what did they do? They just took Lord's lotus feet and placed on their head. So like this, you can see in many places throughout the Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita how the Lord's lotus feet is glorified like this. Now, how can we take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet? Of course, the first section of the purport, if it's a very long purport, we will not be going through the whole purport, but you can certainly read, this verse and the next verse as well. But how can we take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet? Of course, in the purport, it's given by adopting the process. By adopting the process that has been given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one of the keys, of course, there are three keys that Mahaprabhu gives in his Siksha throughout, the different pastimes, either to Sanatan Goswami or to Vasudev, the leper. He actually, reiterates this teaching again and again. One is the three principles that Mahaprabhu mainly talks about. Of course, there are many other teachings as well. First thing is Krishna Naam, taking the holy name of Krishna. The second one is Vaishnava Seva, serving the Vaishnavas. And third one is Jivadoya, becoming part of the Sankirtan movement. So this teaching comes back again and again, throughout Mahaprabhu's biography. And how can we take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet? We can take shelter by adopting this process. By adopting this process of the three you can say this one is Krishna Naam, by taking the shelter of the holy name, by meditating on the holy name continuously, and continuously means at least once a day, and by showing compassion to all the jivas. That is the whole purpose of the Sankirtan movement. And third one is by associating and serving the Vaishnavas. So very important key element. Because by associating with in fact, many instances, if you read Mahaprabhu's pastimes, many times he's actually controlled by the desires of his devotees. Time and again, if you see Mahaprabhu's Leela, of course, sometimes, he shows his independent nature, and then he, puts his foot down and says, no, I want to do this. But many times, actually, if you see Mahaprabhu actually listens to his devotees, he is directed by his devotees' desires. And that's how Mahaprabhu's and Nityananda Prabhu's desires flow. They flow through the devotees. through the devotees' desires. And that's why Vaishnava Seva is so important. Because the mercy actually comes through these Vaishnavas, through association, the service of the Vaishnavas. So many times like this, for example, Mahaprabhu wanted to go to South India tour, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, no, I don't want you to go. Please stay for some more time here with me. So Mahaprabhu, he agreed to his proposal and said, okay, I'll stay with you for some more time. And then, he wanted to, many times he actually wanted to go to Vrindavan, but somehow or other, devotees trick him and, or devotees tell him different things, and then he's not able to go to Vrindavan. For example, he's actually planning to go to Vrindavan, and that's when he meets Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami in Ramkeli. And then Sanatan Goswami says, you have such a huge following, and if you go like this to Vrindavan, you will not be able to fulfill your purpose of going to Vrindavan. So I would say, please, go alone. So then Mahaprabhu actually goes back and thinks about it. Yes, actually Sanatan Goswami's advice is good advice. And then he goes back to Jagannath Puri. So he doesn't go to... and then similarly Sachi Mata, when Mahaprabhu took sannyas, it was Sachi Mata, his mother's desire that actually, so that he stays... in Jagannath Puri, so that she always hears the news about him. So you can see that how Mahaprabhu is so he's so sensitive, and he agrees many times with the desires of the devotees, and so that is the greatness of a devotee. Mahaprabhu considers all these devotees and takes instruction from them. And then when he is giving, Shiksha to Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, Mahaprabhu says, this is what I heard from Ramananda Rai. And then I'm just repeating all these different instructions to you. So Mahaprabhu actually, is so bound by the devotees' desires, so sensitive. So that's why we also have to be very careful when we deal with devotees. And Vaishnava Seva is of such prime importance. Anyway, coming back to the point, you can see how the Lord's lotus feet is glorified in so many ways. Now, how can we take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet? Right? How can we take shelter of the Lord's? Of course, by adopting the process, but even before that, by adopting the process, we can take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. And one more point we can also mention about is by humility. You can say how the Goswamis actually took shelter of the Lord with humility. And it's not so easy to take shelter, right? Especially if you're thinking, you're the top of the world, right? And that is the default mode of operation in this material world is, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. So Krishna says that one who's bewildered by false ego thinks himself to be the doer of the activities. And Krishna calls such a person Vimudatma. Very foolish. I'm not saying that. Krishna is saying that. So Mudatma means foolish. Vimudatma means very foolish. So one who is bewildered by the false ego thinks himself to be the doer of all the activities. And Krishna, doesn't have a great opinion about that. And this is the natural, this is how the world operates. Everybody is thinking, yes, I've accomplished so much, I'm such a great person, I'm the center of the universe, and so on and so forth. Then it's very difficult to actually take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, take shelter of the Lord's holy name. What's required is actually humility. And in fact, to get some humility means that it's not an ordinary thing to be humble. It's not an ordinary thing to develop that quality, because it's not found anywhere in this world. But when one takes to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told this to Vasudeva the leper. Right? Vasudeva the leper, he had, he was actually very unfortunate. He had contracted leprosy. And then, but he was such a humble devotee that, I mean, his body was infested with worms, and it was not a very good scenario for him. But still, he actually, he was tolerating all those things, and he wanted to actually see Mahaprabhu, have his darshan, and get his mercy. And then this is in Kurmakshetra, so Vasudev actually comes to Kurmakshetra to see Mahaprabhu, learning that Mahaprabhu had come there. But by the time he came, actually Mahaprabhu had left that place after meeting the Kurma Brahmana. And then, but Mahaprabhu, being the Supreme Lord, he realizes that yes, my devotee is coming there to meet me. So Mahaprabhu actually comes back to Kurmakshetra, and then he sees Vasudev the leper, and then he actually embraces him. And then even though Vasudev the leper, is saying that, sorry, my body is full of, it's oozing with pus and blood and so on and so forth, but Mahaprabhu embraces him, and then he transforms his body, he cures him of that disease. Of course, Mahaprabhu's mercy doesn't just manifest externally, in curing, of course, he cures, in many such cases, he cures externally, but ultimately Mahaprabhu's gift is actually to give pure love of Godhead, which is internal gift. So then, Vasudev the leper, he says, being very meek and humble, he actually is astounded by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he says, even the persons who are not so qualified, they run away from me. Because, my body has this stench and odor, they don't want to come near me, but you're so merciful. So he's astounded by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And being very meek and humble, he tells Mahaprabhu that, so far, my body was not very beautiful. Now my body has become very beautiful. So he was concerned if he'll become proud. And then Mahaprabhu says, always chant Hare Krishna and preach this Krishna consciousness to others, then you'll never become proud. So it's not easy to let go of the quality of pride and to cultivate humility, but when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then slowly what happens is it purifies our heart. From Rajas and Tamoguna, it purifies our heart and it elevates our consciousness, from where it starts to awaken humility. With the understanding that actually, how much dependent we are on Krishna. Right? The more we feel dependent on Krishna, then there is naturally the humility that arises in our heart. Generally, the material world operates, with the understanding that I am independent and everybody is dependent on me. But the reality is that actually how much I am dependent on Krishna. I mean, right from, Krishna says in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita how he becomes the prana in our body. He becomes the digestive fire in our body. Alright? I mean, how essential are all these things even to live, properly. If prana goes haywire in your body, everything will start falling apart actually. And if your digestion goes haywire, I mean, if you have good digestion, you should really be grateful. That's because of good karma, and Krishna has bestowed that gift upon us. So not many people have a good digestion, but Krishna becomes that digestive fire. And Krishna becomes, Krishna in the 15th chapter is talking about how he is giving everybody knowledge, forgetfulness, and remembrance. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedesha sharver ahameva vedya vedanta krit vedaviteva chaham. I mean, think about it. I don't know if you've ever had the experience, especially if you have, traveled extensively and if you're jet lagged. Sometimes, I mean, I had this experience after I think a long flight. I just got up I was jet lagged and I slept off after the flight journey, and then I got up, and for a few moments I didn't know who I was or where I was. And just after a few moments, I things came back to my, came back to my senses. Okay, I'm Sundar and Sundarananda Das. I'm here in the Bay Area. I've just got knocked off after a after a long flight and jet lagged and so on and so forth. But think about if the memory doesn't come back, what will happen to us? We are toast actually. But who's giving that memory? Who's giving that knowledge? That who am I? Who's giving that context? It's Krishna's. It's Krishna who's we are so much dependent on Krishna, and to realize this, I mean, generally we think that to feel dependent, to take shelter of somebody is a very undesirable quality. But in spiritual life is the exact opposite. The second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, right, what is daytime for all the other living entities? It is night time for this, the self-realized, and vice versa. So, actually it's great fortune to understand how we are so dependent on Krishna. And many places in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, how I am the ability in man, sound in ether, the intelligence of the intelligent, and so on and so forth. So how much we are dependent on Krishna, and by having this mood, one becomes naturally humble. One becomes naturally dependent, and then one can begin to take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet and take shelter of the Lord's holy name. But Mahaprabhu's mercy is Mahaprabhu is so magnanimous, so merciful, that actually even previously Krishna expected sarva dharman parityacha mamekam sharanam raja ham tvam sarvapapave mokshishami masachaha. First you surrender unto me, that's the condition, then I'll protect you. But Mahaprabhu here is giving us this topmost process of self-realization and God realization, even without looking for any qualification. And by taking this process, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then we can slowly purify ourselves. Gradually, step by step, we can purify ourselves and come to the platform of understanding how much we are dependent on Krishna. In fact, Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. This is not a cheap thing. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Krishna. After many lives, Krishna says, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. One who is in full knowledge, he surrenders unto me. Vasudevam Sarvamiti. Knowing that I am the cause of all causes. Samahatma Sudurlabha. Krishna says such a Mahatma is very, very rare. But Mahaprabhu is giving us this gift, when we inculcate this or take in this process, chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, very swiftly, very quickly, we can come to the plan, and of course gradually. It's not overnight, it's not an overnight magic, but very quickly in terms of eternal life, in terms of, after millions and millions of lifetimes that we are going through, we are wandering in this material world, millions and millions of lives. And but through the mercy of Guru and Krishna, somehow we have got this. We have got this association of devotees. So by some mercy, and by adopting this process, what happens is it purifies our heart, and then slowly the humility is born. And when the humility is born, then we can take the full shelter of the Lord's Lord. In fact, the extreme humility, what the Goswamis expressed, what is called as dainya, that is a very intense form of humility. And that's very, very hard we cannot imitate that. But at least we can start from where we are. And then express that humility and start taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord by taking shelter of the process that the Lord has given. Anyway, that is so that's Deyam Sada, which is always meditating on adopting the process and meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. Now the next one, of course, there is another reason also. We talked about it. One of the reasons why we should take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, especially Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we talked about it because he's the most merciful incarnation. Parama Karuna, Pahudvijana, Nitai Gaura Chandra. Parama Karuna, so merciful. And then Lochan Das Thakur says, Parama Karuna Pahudvijana, Nitai Gaura Chandra. Sabhavatar Shara Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda. Sabhavatar Shara Shiromani. For all the avatars, he's the most munificent. Then, of course, then becomes the worthy of taking shelter of the Supreme Lord. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshi sinapriyaha. Ye bhajanti tuamam bhaktya mahi te teshu chapyaham. So Krishna says, I am actually neutral to everyone. As one approaches me, I reward them accordingly. Ye etamam prabhadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. So if you don't want Krishna to enter into your life, Krishna will not enter. He will honor that desire. But at the same time, Krishna says, if you are a devotee of mine, then I will also reciprocate in kind to you, with special affection. And so that is also mentioned across the Bhagavad Gita, Ye etamam prabhadyante. As one approaches me, I reward them accordingly. In the 10th canto of Bhagavatam also we can see when Krishna enters Mathura, of course one of the verses that we read, in the list of verses that Vaisheshika Prabhu reads, is that, as Krishna enters Mathura, all different people look at him differently. Even though it's the same Krishna, because of the different disposition different people have, like for example, the elderly Gopas see him as their child, the Gopa friends see him as their friend, the King Kamsa sees him as that personified. And then the other wicked kings see him as the chastiser of the wicked. And then the Chanura and Mushtika see him as thunderbolt. So all these different people see Krishna so differently because according to their disposition, according to how they are approaching Krishna, they are seeing Krishna, and Krishna is reciprocating to them accordingly. But Mahaprabhu, so merciful actually, that what does Lochan Das Thakur say? Dekho ore bhai tribhuvane nai eman doyal data pashu paki jure pashana vidare suni jar gunagata. It's a beautiful song. If it was unlimited time, we could have sang that song as well. So Lochan Das Thakur is saying, my dear brothers, Dekho ore bhai tribhuvane nai. He is actually talking to all of us. My dear brothers, just examine this. Within the three worlds, there is no one like Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda. Their merciful qualities are so great that upon hearing them, even birds and bees, cry and stones melt. Maybe we can sing this. Who has a karta? Somebody has a karta? No, you can. Can you give me a karta? Such a beautiful song by Lochan Das Thakur. It exemplifies the glory of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Can you go to the third verse? Dekho re bhai tribhuvane nai eman doyal data. Dekho re bhai pashu paki jure pashana vidare suni jara gunagata. Parama karuna pahudrijana nitai gaura chandra. Parama Shabhavatar Sarashiromani Kevalananda Kanda Parama Karuna Pahudhijana Nitai Gaurachandra So they are the beneficent of all the incarnations. So Krishna says, as one approaches me, I reward them accordingly. But what is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doing? He is actually running after the conditioned souls. He is running after the conditioned souls to grab them by their hair and trying to give them the gift of Krishna Prem, the love of Godhead, the highest gift, which is love for Godhead, love for Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is running, and that's what we saw this verse in the same says Maya Mrigam Dayita Dayiteb Shitam Anva Dhavad. So the Lord actually is running after the conditioned souls who's actually searching out, who's running after Maya. The Lord is actually running after them to try to give them this highest gift of Krishna Prema or love for God, and how munificent such an incarnation is. So it's worthy of taking shelter of Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet. It's worthy. I mean, we saw few things. Dhyayam Sada, how to take shelter of. I think we will probably cover one more. But there are 9 glories of Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet. We just covered one. Dhyayam Sada. And Kala Krishna Das, he was actually traveling with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but unfortunately, due to circumstance, he gets deviated, he gets distracted by some gypsies, and then the gypsies take him away. He is actually traveling with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but then he leaves he gets distracted. I don't want to, that happens us all the time, right? We all have, some Kala Krishna Das, some degree of Kala Krishna Das. We may be coming to the Bhagavatam class, and then in the morning, and we would have had a night Krishna conscious program, and then we go back into our own little small tiny world, and then suddenly something distracts us and we are gone. So Kala Krishna Das, actually, he got distracted, and then he gets taken away by the gypsies. And then what does Mahaprabhu do? Mahaprabhu could have said, you're such a, a rotten rascal. I'm not going to come, and he could have left him there, and he could have actually gone forward. But what did Mahaprabhu do? Mahaprabhu ran back. Ran, and he got back, he grabbed him by his hair, and he actually got Kala Krishna Das back. So that is Mahaprabhu's mercy. This is Mahaprabhu's mercy. So he is fit, Dhyayam Sada is fit to take shelter of Mahaprabhu's lotus feet, because Parama Karuna. And same thing that happened in other pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. He's running after the conditioned souls to give them Krishna Prema. There is all these Mayavad sannyasis. This, initially Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and then there is Prakashananda Saraswati in Varanasi. All these different Mayavadis, they don't want to take up, Krishna consciousness. They are more, in fact, they are offenders at the lotus feet of the Lord, because they criticize the form of the Lord, and they think the form of the Lord to be material, but the form of the Lord is spiritual. Right? In fact, Prakashananda Saraswati, he was not happy with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, because he got converted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, he just got swayed by that sannyasi, and he just did a magic trick and he fell for that. That's what Prakashananda Saraswati said. But then the devotees, Tapan Mishra, not Tapan, it is Tapan Mishra. Right, the Brahmana, right? So the devotees were very unhappy that these Mayavadis were criticizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So actually Mahaprabhu then went to satisfy his devotees. The Mahaprabhu goes actually, and then he meets all these different Mayavadi sannyasis, and then he delivers them. So the Mahaprabhu is actually running behind the conditioned souls to deliver him. How merciful is Mahaprabhu? So it's fit to take shelter of or meditate upon the Mahaprabhu's lotus feet, which is Dhyam Sada. And then we'll now go to the next part, which is Paribhavagna. So Paribhavagna means destroys the insults of material life. And Abhishtadoham. Abhishtadoham means what's the greatest desire for the soul. So, we already talked about this, how it's actually insulting for the soul. The material life itself is insulting for the soul because, we were eternally, serving the Lord and being eternal servant of the Lord. That's the highest position we can climb to. The highest perfection as a Jivatma we can get to is what? Being president? What is the highest position we can come to? Being the servant. In fact, being the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Lord. That is the highest position. And in fact, it's a cherished, it's a privilege to come to that position. Of course, it's very counterintuitive. Being a servant in the material world it's looked down upon. Right? It's not a very cherished. But in the spiritual realm, it's exactly the opposite. It's all upside down here in the material world. So in the spiritual realm, that is the highest position, to become the servant of the servant. That is all we can become. There is nothing beyond. So that's why I know Vaisheshika Prabhu says this very nicely. He says, don't try to become a great devotee, try to become a good devotee. So that is all we can become. And that is our highest potential, and that's where we find our highest fulfillment. In love, this loving relationship with Krishna is where we find our highest fulfillment. And leaving that and being here in this material world and serving the mind and the senses, it's actually paribhavagnam. It's very insulting for the soul. It's devolution. Of course, it's relative, but considered human life is more precious than the other forms of life. But in general, we can say that being embodied here in this material world, serving the mind and the senses, is actually very insulting for the soul. And Mahaprabhu, by giving the process of the Harinam Sankirtan, and the three principles that we talked about Krishna Nam, and then Vaishnava Seva, and Jiva Doya. By this process, he actually are helping us to come to our highest perfection, our highest potential, being the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. So, of course, Krishna also says that in the Bhagavad Gita, right? He says, Yatato hi api kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramatini haranti prashabam manaha. So in second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a person, a man of discrimination, who's endeavoring to control them. So the mind and the senses harass us so much. Not only the mind and the senses harass us, there is also the tapatraya, right? Everything harasses us in this material world. But then by taking shelter of the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the process given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all these things that harasses the soul is completely destroyed. In fact, Devahuti prays. She is actually lamenting. When she is actually speaking with Kapila Dev, she is actually lamenting what? Vanchita mayo dhritam. what does she say? She says, Saham Bhagavato Nunam Vanchita Maya Dhritam. She says, my Lord, surely I have been solidly cheated by the insurmountable material energy. That's true. I mean, at least for myself, in my case, I can see, yeah, I've been solidly cheated by the illusory energy of the Lord. And why does she say that? She says, in spite of having obtained your association, which gives liberation from material bondage, I do not seek such liberation. So this is how the mind and the senses harass us. How, and the purport, Prabhupada beautifully writes, we are afforded so much of fortune. For example, to get a human birth itself is a good fortune, right? Human birth itself is a very good fortune. Why? Because in human form of life, we can think about the higher truth. We can inquire into the absolute truth. So human form of life itself is very fortunate. And then even fortunate than having a human form of life is to actually be born in a cultured family. Who are actually, especially, family of, if you are born into a family where, they follow the Sanatana Dharma, or if you are born into a family where there are saintly associations and saintly devotees, then it's even more fortunate. And even more fortunate, even more fortunate is one who gets such saintly association. But after getting all these things, a human body, and a nice cultured family and saintly association, in one does not take advantage of this, then how misfortunate is. How misfortunate is. And that's why Devavati is lamenting here. How unfortunate, how misfortunate is that I have not taken full advantage of the devotees association, especially in terms of her husband, who is Kardama Muni and who was a great devotee, and also Kapila Muni, who was her son. So she was lamenting like that. And similarly, we can see how by how the mind tricks. The mind is actually the agent of Maya. The mind actually tricks the materialist by not allowing them to come to Krishna consciousness. The mind tricks the devotees by procrastinating of taking to Krishna consciousness. So how unfortunate it is that the mind and the senses are such bad masters. Many times they actually try and they put obstacles on the path of taking shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. But when we take shelter of Mahaprabhu, then all those harassments are actually, and insults and embarrassments are actually removed. And then finally, one more thing we will touch upon is Abhishtadoham. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he awards the highest desire, of which is love for God, to all the living entities, Abhishtadoham. And he fulfills all the desires, the sincere desires of his devotees. Practical example is, ISV itself. Right? Every year, they set such goals for the Sankirtan. Nobody knows, how it's going to be met. Maybe now we have gone past that. A few years back, whenever I talk with the Sankirtan leaders, Malini Mataji, Sri Krishna Purusham, they can tell more about this than me. They always, are in, so much of, doubt and the tension, how are we going to fulfill the goals? They have set such high bar of Sankirtan goals and so on and so forth. But then every time, what happens? The end of the year or end of each MSF, they surpass the goals. How does it happen? How does it happen? We just recently, they were reading the offering, and then for the last year, the remittance, ISV actually crossed the goal of $1 million, which is a remittance to BBT. And that's no ordinary feat. It's not ordinary feat. Even few years, if you had looked back, I remember talking to, many devotees, they were thinking, how is this even possible? Right? But how is this all possible? Because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Abhishtadoham, he is fulfilling the desires of his sincere devotees who wants to serve the Sankirtan movement. And he's also giving that mercy so that we can align our desires with the desires of the Supreme Lord. So anyway, those are some thoughts. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Apryamanam achala pratishtam. Samudramapam pravishanti yadvad. Tadvad kama yam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti na kama kami. Says a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires. Everybody is running after material desires and harassed by material desires in this world. And, there is never an end to the material desires, because when one gets fulfilled, then there is another one pops up. There is no fulfillment that one obtains after, the material desire is fulfilled. So the only desire that will fulfill us is that eternal relationship with Krishna. Not love for Krishna. That is the only desire that will actually fulfill us. And Mahaprabhu is actually very kindly extending the desire and giving us that highest desire to all of us, which is love for Krishna. And so we can take to the process of what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us so that we can align our desires with the desires of Mahaprabhu, desires of Krishna. And that is the whole process of Krishna consciousness, and especially the process of chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which actually refines our desires. Refines our desires. It qualifies our desires. It purifies our desires. Where our only desire is, yes, I want to serve Krishna only for his pleasure. Of course, desires can also be mixed. Desire, we may also be, doing a lot of services, but the desire can be mixed as well. Okay, I am doing service for Krishna, but there is some little part here that I want. Maybe some little bit of glory. Maybe I can, things like that. Maybe some sense gratification here and there. So there can be, the desire can be mixed. But then what purifies our desires? Purifies our desires, the process, taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, through the process that Mahaprabhu has given us. Then our desires are purified and our desires are aligned with his desires, then that gives us the highest fulfillment. So Abhishtadoham, he fulfills our desires, sincere desires for devotional service. That is Mahaprabhu's mercy. And I will just recount one pastime from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sanatan Goswami, our acharyas, he was coming to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Vrindavan. And at that time, coming through the Jarikan forest, he actually, got infected because of some impure water. And then he gets deceased. And then, his body, again, he gets, all kinds of infection throughout his body, which is, full of pus and blood. And again, he gets very, very diseased. And then he becomes a little bit dejected. Sanatan Goswami gets dejected. And then he comes to Jagannath Puri with the idea that anyway, this body has become useless now. And I'm not able to enter Lord Jagannath's temple. And I'm not, in association with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also all the time. So he says, what is the point of just continuing like this? I'm not able to, with this body, I may not be able to do service fully also. So what is the point of all these things? So he thinks that, okay, let me actually, throw my body under the Rath Yatra cart. And then, so he was thinking like that. And let me commit suicide. So he was thinking like that. And then Mahaprabhu comes and then he sees, so he's staying with Haridas Thakur and then Mahaprabhu comes and then he visits them the first day, and then second day he comes, and then he just makes a statement. Without any conversation, Mahaprabhu makes a statement. If I could have gotten Krishna by committing suicide, I would have committed suicide millions of times. But that is not how you attain Krishna. And then Sanatana Goswami is actually taken aback. He says, how is Mahaprabhu able to understand my thinking and my inner hearts, my heart's, my feeling, thinking, and so on and so forth. Then Mahaprabhu tells him, you have surrendered to me in Ramakeli, and then now your body is actually my property. So you cannot, so Mahaprabhu, paraphrasing, Mahaprabhu says, you cannot do whatever you want, you cannot destroy another's property without, the owner's desire, knowing the owner's desire. So then he tells Sanatana Goswami that actually I have a lot of plan for you. I want you to, excavate the holy place of Vrindavan. I want you to write books on Krishna consciousness, explaining the depth of devotional service. And I want to have so much of plan for you. So then Mahaprabhu chastises him. What is this? Your own idea of, having your own plan. So Mahaprabhu chastises him and then tells him that, your body is my property and I want to use it for a higher purpose, for a higher cause. And then Haridas Thakur hears it and he says, he is so stunned. He's so stunned. He says, he glorifies Sanatana Goswami. You're so fortunate that the Lord wants to use you as an instrument in his divine services. And then he glorifies, of course, Sanatana Goswami also glorifies Haridas Thakur, saying that, the Lord also is using you as an example of Namacharya, one who chants the holy name of the Lord and showing that an example to the whole world. So ultimately, that this is Chaitanya, this is Abhishtadoham. Our really, internal desire is to actually make our desires one with Krishna's desire. Make our desires one with Srimad Mahaprabhu's desires. Then we can become an instrument of the Lord. And by imbibing the process of Krishna consciousness, we'll be able to refine our desires and make our desires one with the Lord's desires. And the Lord awards it, one who takes shelter of this process, the Lord awards them this gift of aligning our desires with the Lord's desires. Anyway, those are some thoughts. We have only 2 minutes. Of course, we just covered 3. Yes. So we covered 3 glories of Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet. Any reflections or questions? I think you have to switch on the mic.
Yeah. So thank you very much. I will not take less than 1 minute. So you have advised from your great knowledge, the surrender. In many places you have mentioned this. And hearing the name of Krishna, Puri, they are in my blood. So I am tempted to give little example of the surrender. So this is one of the quote I am taking from a story of Ramakrishna Paramahansa when he was explaining what will be the total surrender so that the common man can understand it. So he gave the 2 examples. He said, whether you wanted to become a kitten, that means a cat's small baby, or a monkey's small baby. Now, if you see the monkey's small baby, onus is on the monkey's baby to clamp on the back of the front of the mother, so that when he jumps from one tree to other tree, mother is not responsible, the kid is responsible. But for kitten, the cat has to grab in the mouth and move.
Right.
So complete onus is on Krishna.
Right.
Krishna is the cat.
Yeah.
And you have nothing. Like when the last example you gave.
Sure. That's a very nice example. Thank you very much. It's a very
Thank you.
nice example.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity.
Yeah. Yes, that's the path. The Bhakti Yogis are like kittens. We are taken care by Krishna, like the cat or the cat species. Yes, Kaladeep Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for bringing this very special verse for the discussion today. So you said actually in the purport it says this verse is meant for three personalities.
Right.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Ramchandra and Lord Krishna. So this is actually Sarabhuja part. This verse and the next verse, there are the Sarabhuja verses. But I see that in the purport, mostly it is glorifying Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because the preceding verses are talking about him. Krishna Varnatisha, Krishnam Kalista Vajayanta Arya Ityadi.
Yes.
So you beautifully actually brought and connected with the pastimes. I think when we hear about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, it feels more practical what we are doing. Because Lord Krishna's pastimes are very esoteric and difficult to understand. Lord Ramchandra sometimes feels he's very generous. He's very ardent to religious principles, which may not be practical for us in our situation. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually gave us the practical example through his pastimes and through the empowerment of his associates. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So we will now, we have to conclude the session here. So we will have Gaura Arti now, which will be sung by Jai Kanaya Prabhu and Narsimha prayers by Jambavati Mataji. So thank you everyone for your kind attention. And we will now assemble for the Gaura Arti. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Sundarananda Prabhu ki Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Good to see you. Hare Krishna. This side is okay, Prabhu. It's good. Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Krishna
देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Jayo Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. Jayo Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radhe. Jayo Radha Sham Sundar Radha Sham Sundar Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Nara Hari, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Nara Hari. Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Sai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Sai Gora Hari Bol. Vishnupad Paramahansa Privrajakacarya Stotra Sat His Divine Grace Abhay Charana Arvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Privrajakacarya Stotra Sat His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की नामाचार्य शिला हरिदास ठाकुर की गंगा माई जमुना माई की भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की सामवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल डिवोटीज हरे कृष्ण ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल डिवोटीज हरे कृष्ण ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्री गुरु एंड गौरांगा हरे हरे बोल.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Nivanya
proceed with our usual announcements, we'd like all the devotees to take a moment to pray to Lord Nishingadev for Shashank Prabhu's father, Sringiri Digamba Rao Prabhu, who's going through a serious illness and treatment, and Om Vati Mataji for her health. So we'll pray to Lord Nishingadev that, dear Lord Nishingadev, please, if you so desire, please bless Sri Giri Prabhu and Om Vati Mataji so they may have happy health in your service. Thank you so much for considering our request. Hare Krishna. Welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. We're very, very happy to see you here today. We'd like to thank Sundarananda Prabhu for giving such a wonderful class this evening. And we'd like to thank Jaikanai Prabhu for leading, as usual, a very melodious Gaur Aarti. Mataji, you'll have to remind me of your name. Jambavati Mataji, who actually just got initiated on Gaur Purnima. We really enjoyed your Nishingadev prayer. We're so happy to see this wonderful turnout, and we'd like to especially welcome those who've come here to ISV for the first time. So if you're here for the first time, please raise your hand. Don't be shy. Oh, welcome. Welcome. So many newcomers. Prabhu over there, welcome. For all our newcomers, we'll chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We also have a lot of new viewers and newcomers who come through different channels like YouTube, Facebook, and we'd like to thank them for their presence, as well as Charanamai Prabhu, who headed up today's broadcast to make all of that possible. Haribol. We have 3 sponsors for today's feast. I will give you a special sweet, Mangalarti sweets for your sponsorship right after. But please do come up when I announce your name. We'd like to hear a few words from you. First is Shweta Mataji, who is sponsoring today's feast, and she and her husband are here at ISV. So we would like to invite them to come forward. Please come forward. Would you like to say a few words?
He would like to speak. Hare Krishna. Thank you, ISV, for giving us this opportunity to share our happiness with all the devotees. We love coming here every Sunday in this vibrant atmosphere and enjoying the Aarti and Kirtan with all of you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I also would like to thank, I'm really grateful for this opportunity that we have here. We have this chance to come to this temple every Sunday, and we are looking forward to coming here because we don't have enough time on Sunday, but we make it effort and make it a point that at least we get some time to come here, and that's all. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. We're glad that you love your time here, even though it's very limited, but it's very precious to us. So we hope to see you more often on Sundays. Thank you for sponsoring. We have Sudeep Prabhu, who is sponsoring for Siddhi's birthday. Arrival. Sudeep Prabhu, Siddhi, are you here? Is Sudeep Prabhu or Siddhi here? I don't want to miss the chance. No? All right. But as a blessing for Siddhi's birthday, we will all chant together once for her. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. For
all of you who might not know, Sudeep Prabhu is the epitome of serving in the back and empowering those in the front. He very painstakingly cleans the temple areas that people don't usually like to clean, like the bathroom. So it's not the most prestigious service, but he's always there. And his daughter is so, so sweet, and his family is such an important part of ISV. So that's just a little bit about one hidden gem of ISV. Haribol. Now we have Siva Prabhu, who is sponsoring in the memory of his father and grandfather and seeking prayers for them. Siva Prabhu, are you here? No? All right, we'll chant together for Shiva Prabhu and his father and grandfather. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you all for sponsoring today's feast. We also have opportunities to sponsor the Saturday feast, and that now that we have our community expanding, we have Saturday school, which is also something you can learn about for the children. That is also an opportunity that you can avail. We have one very special announcement, very exciting. We have a special Bhakti Farms trip that's taking place on May 11th. You don't find very many farms and cows in the Bay Area that you can visit. But this is a special trip. We'll be having a bus. It'll be a community event. There will be more information sent over email, but the date you can save is May 11th. Do we have the cook announcements? Well, the cooks for today were Ujjvala Rasa Mataji and her entire team, who've cooked a wonderful feast for all of you that we hope you enjoy. Prasadam will be served outside. There will be 2 tables. The one on the left side, you can get a pre-made plate. It's usually faster. The one on the right side is custom-made. You can honor Prasadam outside as well as inside. However, we do have a program at 7 p.m., so we request you to stay back and help to clean up and finish Prasadam early so that we can begin that program. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Can you sing?
Sharira Vidya Jaya Jodendriya Dharika Jive Teye Vishaya Sadore Anagir Jivayati Yoga Surmati Age Jita Katina Sansare Krishna Bhagavataya Puri Vare Jivaya Please come take Prashad.